What's going on, everybody? Thanks for watching and welcome to another video. Today we're driving a 1997 Porsche Boxster 2.5-liter with a 5-speed manual. This is my brother's car, so thanks to my brother for letting me review it. This is the second car of his that I've reviewed. There's the other video on his 944 Turbo that I did, and this is one of his other Porsches that he has. He has this Boxster, his 944, and he has a 914. Kind of a good range of cars, actually, when you think about it. He's got, a cool vintage air-cooled Porsche. He's got an 80s 944, and then he's got a kind of what would fall into the category of a modern Porsche with the Boxster. This is probably the best value for money right now on the used market for a sports car. If you want a two-seater convertible sports car that really gives you a really amazing driving experience, I really don't think there's anything that in the range from like $6,000 to $8,000, I mean definitely sub 10 grand, that will give you the level of engineering, driver involvement, heritage with Porsche and their racing and whatnot. I mean, these early Boxsters are really good value for money. I mean, yeah, you can get what Miatas, you can get BMW Z3s, you can get Mercedes SLK, but in my opinion, none of those cars really offer for the money. I mean, basically the combination of just the involving chassis and this really sweet little 6-cylinder motor. This year is also the 25th anniversary of the Boxster, so I thought it'd be a great time to take a look at, kind of the first Boxster that they made. And my brother happens to own a 97, first year that the Boxster came to the US, and so really it worked out perfectly as far as looking at the car, here on its 25th anniversary. It's interesting, you look at Porsche now, and it's a very profitable company. They make a ton of cars. I mean, their lineup now is just, they make a lot of cars, SUVs, sedans, supercars, but when the Boxster came out, it was not the case at all. In the late 80s and early 90s, Porsche was I'm not sure if they were on the brink of bankruptcy, but they were not doing well financially. For example, in 1986, they sold around 50,000 cars worldwide. By 1993, those numbers were down to something like 14,000 cars worldwide, only 3,000 of which were sold in the US. There's a few reasons for that. One, especially in the US, the economy was doing terrible, so people weren't spending money on luxury cars and luxury goods, so that was affecting their sales. But the other problem was that their profitability was not very good because their manufacturing process was very old and outdated, and it was very inefficient. So they needed to basically turn things around. They went to Toyota and they consulted with them about their manufacturing process that Toyota used, and Toyota had a really efficient way of making cars where they just had very little waste. Porsche basically borrowed that approach, and it worked. And basically, they came out with the Boxster in 1996 in Europe, and in 97 in the US, and then the 996 came out around the same time. And because of the fact that the 996 and the Boxster shared a lot of components in the front end, especially, they were able to save money, make more cars. By 2007, Porsche had become the most profitable car company in the world, and the Boxster and the 996, were part of this new era. Really, you could call it, I guess, the beginning of the real modern era of Porsche. They had switched over to water-cooled, and their manufacturing process was thoroughly updated. That's a great comeback story, and it was in large part due to, the development of the Boxster and also the development of the 996. They made more money from those cars. They were able to develop the Cayenne, and then the Cayenne was a huge breadwinner for them. They managed to pull themselves back from the brink, and this is the car that did it. It was the Boxster. And this thing is an absolute blast to drive still. You can criticize it all you want for having a lack of power, but it is a really involving car. So it's got a 2.5-liter flat six, water-cooled. It's a double overhead cam, 4-valve per cylinder. So it has 201 horsepower and about 181 foot-pounds of torque. The car weighs about 2,700. Just over 2,700 pounds, I think 2,760 pounds, something like that. In 97, when it came out in the US, the Boxster was 0 to 60 in about 6.7 seconds, which is not bad. I mean, that's relatively, strong acceleration. The upside of the lack of power is that the car makes you work harder and the reward is greater, and it makes you feel more like you're contributing more to the driving experience, basically, because you're not just like relying on this huge mountain of torque and horsepower to propel you down the straights and whatnot. Like, you have to be really involved, and you have to be rolling the gears and shifting all the time and keeping the engine in the power band, and then it's an incredibly rewarding drive. engine sounds really good. It revs, I wouldn't say as effortlessly as newer Porsche motors, but it loves to rev all the way to redline. It's got this nice little intake howl that comes in the mid-range from the air intake on the left side of the car. And it's one of those cars that really wants to be driven aggressively. Yeah, it's just so predictable, and the chassis feel is just really, it's got a really nice feel to it. Really good damping. It's not too stiff, and it's very safe, I would say. Like when you start to push it really hard, it understeers if you really push it, and it really never feels like it wants to step out. It really is happier just kind of gripping the road. Changes direction really quickly. It's got very, very high mechanical grip as well. And you can carry a very good amount of speed on a back road in this thing. And just really responds well to all of the input that you can that you give it, whether it's steering, braking. Yeah, I mean it's very stable around faster sweepers, and then around tighter turns, it's really nimble. Changes direction really quickly. The overall design of the Boxster stayed pretty true to the concept Boxster that they had revealed in 1993. Really cool design, kind of unique looking in that it looks sort of symmetrical front and rear. Like, you know, the rear kind of looks like it could be the front. From the side, it's got this kind of interesting look to it. But very good design, and I think it's aged really well. And the interior, I know it comes under a lot of criticism, but it's good quality. I mean, it's held up. In this car, my brother's car has 162,000 miles on it, and the interior is still in really good shape. Some of the leather is pulling away on the seats. He's going to redo those at some point. He just put a new 3-spoke sport steering wheel, which made a huge difference. It had the original 4-spoke originally, and this new 3-spoke wheel is much better. Overall, the interior design is nice. It's very, you know, the tack is right in front of you. It's very purposeful. It's very typical Porsche design. Very driver-oriented. And the view out is terrific. You can see both the fenders, kind of like a 911. Very apparent that it was made and engineered by a company that really understands what makes a car fun to drive and involving. All right, you guys. Well, listen, thanks a lot for watching, and comment below if you like the videos. Subscribe if you haven't, if you like the content. And we will catch you on the next video.